What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're going to jump in and touch on some of the top weapons in Season 15. We will talk about some of the new top performers and weapons that have been updated. And I guess this is kind of a most popular list for weapons in Season of the Lost. Of course, we're not going to be talking about literally every good weapon at the moment in the game, but this should be a pretty good roundup of what's being used right now and why. As always though, let us know which weapons you guys have been rocking down below, and for now, let's get into it. And we're going to start out in the fusion rifle category right here. There are a lot of these in Season 15, and with some help from season mods, they are performing really well. Initially, there is Lorentz Driver, and this is the Season Pass exotic weapon this season, and probably one of the better season exotics. Lorentz Driver is pretty solid in any type of content. It's really good at clearing ads because its main trait bonus allows precision final blows with the weapon to create an implosion that pulls in nearby targets and damages them. And so it can take care of a large number of enemies in PvE, or a few targets in PvP, where it's also extremely precise and lethal. It's generally a fantastic sniper alternative for PvP. But back in PvE, you get the added telemetry pattern bonuses where the weapon drops telemetries on marked targets and picking them up will grant ability energy, but also grabbing 3 in a row will grant a significant damage bonus. Of course, this season, we do have a new artifact mod called Particle Deconstruction, and dealing damage to a combatant with a fusion rifle or linear fusion rifle grants bonus damage to the weapon against that combatant for a short duration, and you can stack that effect up to 5 times. So obviously this is making all of the fusion rifles in the game more interesting to use. And that would include 1000 voices from back in Forsaken. Of course, this drops from the Last Wish raid. I've definitely missed using this weapon over the past year or so. And of course, it simply charges up and then blows things up. But with the changes this season and particle deconstruction, it blows things up better than it has for a while, I suppose. For DPS, it is a pretty valid option now. And if, like myself, you're not the best shot, then this is a pretty good choice because it is so easy to use. Then with the added benefit of particle deconstruction, applying damage will grant their damage bonus, and since 1k bursts its damage, we do get those stacks pretty fast and it just melts things. So definitely another weapon to pursue or pull out of the vault if you haven't used it. Next though, we have Reed's Regret, which is another really popular new weapon this season, dropping from Trials. One of the big pluses for this particular weapon is the perk pool, and it can roll things like Triple Tap, Clown Cartridge, and Surplus, paired with bonuses like Vulpecular Weapon, Firing Line, which is bugged right now but will be fixed and is pretty strong. And then it can get new bonuses like Harmony, which is another acceptable damage perk. So it's a very solid weapon, and if you add to this things like the Adept Trials mods, Adept Big Ones, it puts out even more damage. Then you've got some of the unique trait combinations, and with stuff like Clown Cartridge or Triple Tap and Backup Mag, you can put out 10 or 11 shots in one mag, which is really good. And again, when you take advantage of particle deconstruction, you do get some wacky damage at the same time, so absolutely something else to keep in mind. Vex Mythoclast absolutely needs a mention here. It was buffed at the start of the season, and it also benefits from particle deconstruction. On top of this, it's very strong now inside of PvP. You can kind of just spam it and melt through players in the Crucible. I actually prefer it in PvE though, and there are some pretty nasty builds you can run, like Path of the Burning Steps on Titan, which grants a stacking damage bonus on solar kills. So on top of the Vex and its Catalyst, it's like having another almost Rampage-like bonus on the weapon, and getting a few thousand damage per shot on a weapon that fires essentially like an auto rifle is pretty awesome. So it's a good one if you can get hold of it, although I appreciate Vex isn't an easy weapon for everyone to acquire. Funnily enough, Cartesian Coordinate is a relatively popular legendary fusion rifle at the moment. It's easy-ish to acquire, and it's able to roll quite a few good perks, so if you have things like Under Pressure and Vulpecular Weapon, it's pretty fun in PvE. And with the Season's Artifact mod, it can actually be used for some fairly good DPS. But also you can pair it with another heavy fusion rifle to get the particle deconstruction buff, and I believe because of its rate of fire, it can still put out more damage than things like Null Composure. But you can also roll it into a laser beam for PvP if you wanted to, so it's worth keeping an eye on. Although, we have had god rolls of Main Ingredient being sold by Xur. If you were lucky enough to pick that one up, it's very, very good inside of PvP. I believe Xur can sell the Cartesian Coordinate as well though, so worth keeping an eye on what he has in his rotation. Now let's move away from fusion rifles for a moment. A really solid weapon in PvP right now is the Darkest Before Pulse Rifle. This can now drop from the Prophecy dungeon, and it's a really good legendary option for PvP. One of the standout things about the weapon is its consistency and flexibility. Good rapid-fire frame pulses are performing fairly well in PvP at the moment, and if you can land your shots with stuff like Arrowhead Break and Tunnel Vision, it is an absolute laser, but it can also roll Quick Draw, Surplus and Overflow, and then Rampage in the second slot, and with stacks of Rampage you're going to absolutely shred players in PvP. But it can also get full auto, which is really good. So if you're after a really strong medium-range pulse rifle, it could be something to farm for in the Prophecy dungeon. Of course, Messenger is still performing very, very well and is still one of the top pulse rifles in PvP, but also, No Time to Explain is peaking in popularity just a little bit. You can get some fairly nice 2 bursts, so that could be something else to look out for. The Fractithist shotgun is a very solid option this season, and it's something worth mentioning. It reminds me a bit of the Retold Tale or Dustrock Blues from Forsaken in PvP. It's a precision frame, and it can roll Quick Draw and Opening Shot, which is great, alongside things like Full Choke or Small Bore, and accurized rounds. And so that's fairly solid for PvP, but it can also get full auto and roll stuff like Trench Barrel, Harmony, and Adrenaline Junkie, so it's got some options for all types of content. It drops via the Season Pass this season, but also the activity stuff like Astral Alignment and Shattered Realm. Another top weapon from the new content would be the Vulpecular hand cannon. We can also pick this up in the new season activities, and it can get the Headstone perk, which spawns a stasis crystal at the victim's location. And so it can be paired really nicely with stasis subclass perks like Whisper of Shards and Chains, but it can synergize in a bunch of other ways with perks like Shoot to Loot and Explosive Payload or Harmony. You can also rock Outlaw, Headstone, and then it has bonuses like Opening Shot, Killing Wind, and more, so it's all around a fairly decent weapon inside of PvE. And it does okay inside of the Crucible as well, but in PvP there are things like Igneous Hammer and Ace of Spades, which are pretty popular at the moment. And we should mention on the PvE side, Lucky Pants and Malfeasance. Well, Malfeasance can stack some silly levels of damage. There are some fun things going on in the sandbox right now for sure. Next though, we should speak about the Servant Leader. This is something to take note of, and is a new Gambit playlist drop, so it's a rapid-fire frame scout rifle, most easily compared to Randy's throwing knife. And it can roll some really nice perks. We've got Rapid Hit, Outlaw, Killing Wind, and Subsistence in slot 1, with Rampage, Kill Clip, Frenzy, Multi-Kill Clip, and more in the second slot. So if you want a good ranged scout, and you're after a replacement for Randy's, I'd say it's totally worth having a good roll of Servant Leader if you can pick one up. And once again, it's dropping inside of the Gambit playlist. The final weapon I'm going to mention for this video is Shayora's Wrath. This is a brand new Trials of Osiris SMG, and it's precision frame with void damage, so I believe it's the only one which isn't currently sunset. And this thing is an absolute laser beam from the start. It feels really good to use, and for PvP, if you want a lot of accuracy, heating up and tap the trigger is really good. As is Tunnel Vision, Kill Clip, and Killing Wind or Snapshot. And it can be a lot of fun with Killing Wind and Kill Clip in PvE. Perhaps even Harmony in PvE could be pretty good, but unfortunately it can't roll with Frenzy, and that would have been nice as it would give it slight Recluse vibes, but nonetheless, it's a very solid weapon and a lot of fun to use. So guys, let us know any of these weapons that you have been using, or any other weapons that you would have put on the list, and top weapons that you're enjoying this season. There are a lot of different things to talk about, especially with PvP being revitalized a bit with Trials, and then some of the mods and builds we can set up at the moment for PvE. The sandbox is in a fairly fun place, so give us any thoughts you have in the comments section, but if you've enjoyed the video, a rating below really does help us out, and also be sure to get subscribed to the channel as we've got a lot more Destiny content to cover. However, for now, I appreciate you guys tuning in as always, and I hope you have an awesome day.